first, I want to ask, how did the project come about for you?
For you?
Well, for me, I was kind of approached on the balcony of the National Theatre in London during the Queen's Jubilee celebrations last year in the pouring rain. We couldn't see the Queen. It was a terrible day, but suddenly the sun came out in the form of this guy tapping me on the shoulder and saying, "How would you like to play Doctor Who?" So, what a day that was! And so
I planned it quite carefully for this anecdote. I thought, I'll do it. I won't just read. I remember meeting you on the top of a bus once. That's what I think we first
Yes, well, in New Oxford Street.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, I was on my way to the Donmar, and you said, yes, and we spoke. And that was the only time we'd met before, just briefly chatted. We'd never worked together, didn't really know each other, but...
Yeah.
When you were writing the project, did you have him in mind for the
Yes, I've had him in mind for quite a while. I'll tell you, actually, the person who bears responsibility is Edgar Wright. Edgar, I was talking to him a long time ago, and he said, "What about David Bradley?" And I thought, well, that was it. That was it. It just instantly, that's got to happen. Whatever it takes, that's going to happen. This was years before I'd written it, so I plan ahead like this. But I'd wanted to tell the story for a long time, and it's just really just come together so perfectly for the 50th. It couldn't be nicer.
Why did you want to tell this story?
Well, because I'm a lifelong Doctor Who fan, and I've grown up with this story of how these unlikely people put together the show that we still love, and I just thought it was always really fascinating. I mean, you know, there was a BBC film a couple of years ago about the creation of Coronation Street, which is another great British institution. And I think anything like that, where you know it, but you don't know it, because then you discover all the little happy accidents that contributed to it. You know, nobody thought the Daleks were going to be anything, and then the children of the country just went crazy for them, and then that changed the show completely. So it's full of fascinating little details.
Was there something surprising that you found while doing your research?
Well, for me, the main surprise was that it didn't arrive fully formed, and someone said, let's do a science fiction series about travelling in space and time, and we'll have these Daleks, and we'll have a TARDIS in a phone box, and okay, let's do it. It just, but to realise it wasn't like that at all, and there were all these different personalities involved, and it's that wonderful accidental happenstance, if that's a word, of Sidney Newman being there at the right time and having the courage to fight for it and support a young producer, first female producer of the BBC, and she was in her mid-20s, and she was like, when it nearly got dropped after the first pilot was disastrous, she was the one who stuck to her guns and fought for it, and lots of things could have happened to derail the whole thing, and it wouldn't have happened. And so I was fascinated to read Mark's script and discover all these things.
And again, as I say, things I thought I knew completely, but there's always new stuff coming up. Lots of documentation only has quite recently come to light, and I mean, some of it is very, very Anunnaki, and I had to obviously resist putting that in. But it's so fascinating. Different names for things, different possible actors for the Doctor, people who said no, and all these nearly things that happen. There's one document which I put a little bit of it in when they're talking about how the TARDIS will disguise itself, and there's a whole thing about someone says it must be covered in invisible paint, and it's like hysterical idea. And actually, someone does very perceptibly say it's a bit like C.S. Lewis. It's a portal. It's a wardrobe. It's like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And actually, that's rather true. It's a doorway to another universe in that way. Yeah, it's charming. My favourite thing is that the original title for the first episode was "Nothing at the End of the Lane." Isn't that beautiful?
Wow.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
Really lovely.
Well, I didn't know that. But I was fascinated by the